Hi everybody, I'm Jen. I'm a chiropractor at Evolve Chiropractic in Swan River, Manitoba. And today we're going to be going through just a basic yoga class. So to begin, we're going to come down onto our backs into Shavasana. Feet are going to go just wider than mat width. Palms up to the ceiling. You're going to have a nice long neck. And you're going to think about relaxing and let everything sink into the mat. You want to let everything be nice and heavy. Feet can fall out to the sides if you like. And then we're going to start to bring our focus to our breathing. If you like, you can place one hand on your belly and the other on your chest. We're going to focus on breathing in through our nose and out through our mouth. When we breathe in, we want to feel our belly rise, our rib cage expand out to the sides, followed by the chest. And when we exhale, the belly falls and the chest follows. We're going to do 5 counted breaths. So we're going to inhale for a count of 3. We'll hold for a count of 1. And then we'll exhale for a count of 4. And I'm going to guide you through that. Here we go. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excellent. You can start to wiggle your fingers and toes. You can circle the ankles and wrists. Good. We're going to take our hands overhead. Interlace our fingers, bring the feet together, take a nice big inhale, stretch as long as we can. And then we're going to exhale and draw the feet to the mat, knees bent. I'm going to bring one knee up and into the chest, and we're going to complete some hip circles. First, going in the outwards direction. So we're going to draw the knee up to the chest, out towards the armpit, back and around. You can have your hand resting just below the knee. We're going to do 5 of those. In, out, and around. In, out, and around. Up, out, and around. Up, out, and around. One more. Up, out, and around. We're going to stay on the same side here, and we're going to reverse directions. Now we're going to make an inward circle through the hip. So you're going to draw the knee up and out towards the armpit, and then come across the body and down. 5 of these. Up, up, and around. Out, up, and around. Out, up, and around. 2 more. Out, up, and around. Last one on this side. Out, up, and around. You can stretch that leg out on the mat, give it a little shake, and then we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side, starting with outward circles. So we're going to draw the knee up to the chest, out towards the armpit, and back around, up, out, and around, up, out, and around. 2 more, up, out, and around. Last one, up, out, and around. And now we're going to switch directions. So we're going to go out towards the armpit, up and across the body, out, up, and across, out, up, and across. 2 more here, out, up, and across. Last one, out, up, and across. And you can stretch that a leg long out on the mat. Shake them both out, and then we're going to bring the soles of the feet to the mat once again. We're going to come into a basic bridge, so you're going to lift your hips. We're going to interlace our fingers underneath our bum, pull the shoulder blades together, and lift the hips up towards the ceiling. We're going to hold here for 5 breaths. In through the nose, and out through the mouth. You want to make sure that your knees are stacked over your ankles and they're not caving in. One more breath. Good. You can release the fingers, slowly lower the hips back to the mat. We're going to draw both knees into the chest. Hands are going to rest just below the knees on the shins. We're going to rock side to side. A nice little massage for the low back. And then we'll start rocking forwards and backwards. If you like, you can rock your way all the way up to sitting, or you can roll onto your side and press yourself up into a seated position. We're going to shift our hips to one side and come into what we call a child's pose. So knees are nice and wide, toes together, hands are going to be outstretched in front of us. And we're going to drop our hips back towards our heels and just let our head rest on the mat. We're going to spend 5 more breaths here. Inhale through the nose. And exhale through the mouth. One more breath. I'm going to do a little bit of work through the thoracic spine here in rotation. So we're going to bring the hands so that they're stacked underneath the shoulders. I'm going to take my right hand to my ear. I'm going to rotate my elbow up towards the ceiling, eyes follow, and then bring that same elbow down towards the left wrist. Inhale to reach up, rotate towards the ceiling through the mid-back. Exhale to bring the elbow down towards the opposite wrist. We're going to do 2 more on this side. Good. And then we're going to switch. So right hand comes down to the mat, left fingers come to the left ear. We're going to follow the elbow with our eyes up towards the ceiling. Exhale as we bring that left elbow down towards the right wrist. One more on this side. Good. The left hand is going to come down to the mat to meet the right. I'm going to shift my hips forward so that my shoulders are stacked over my wrists and bring the knees under the hips. And we're going to go into our cat-cow. So I want you to make sure that your shoulders are away from your ears. We don't want them hiked up high. We want them relaxed back and down. My toes are tucked under. I'm going to exhale, round my back up towards the ceiling, tuck my chin, pull belly button to spine. Inhale, I'm going to drop belly towards the floor, my tailbone and chin rise. I'm going to do 4 more of those. Two more. Exhale to round. Inhale to drop your belly towards the floor, look towards the sky. Last one. We're going to push up into a downward dog. So I want to make sure that your hands are nice and grounded. The balls of your hands are pushing into the mat. I have nice active shoulders. I'm pushing away, not sinking into my wrists. Tuck the toes under. We're going to shift the hips up and back, straighten the legs into our first down dog. Here we're reaching the heels towards the floor. Again, shoulders are away from the ears. Elbows are straight but not locked. Knees have just a soft bend. From here you can start to alternate pressing your heels down towards the floor and lifting them for a nice stretch through the calf. We're going to do 1 more of those on each side. Good. Both heels are now coming down towards the floor and we're going to shift into our first plank. Shoulders are going to come forward. Hips are going to flatten out. Again, shoulders are away from the ears, abs nice and tight. We're going to hold here for 5 breaths. One more. Good, and then we're pressing back into our down dog. You can shift your hips side to side here. 2 more breaths in down dog. And then we're going to shift forward again into a plank. So hips come up and forward, shoulders stack over the wrist. Modification here is you can drop the knees. 5 breaths. Good. If you're on your knees, we're going to lift the knees, press back into down dog. 2 breaths here. Shift forward into plank once again. 5 breaths, which means you have to breathe, no breath holding. Good. Press back into down dog. If you need a break, you can come down into a child's pose. We're going to do 1 more shift into plank here. Inhale, drive the shoulders forward, lift the hips, stack shoulders over the wrist. 5 breaths in plank. Excellent. Push back into a down dog. Soft bend in the knees. You can get a little bouncy if you like. We're going to step both feet up in between the hands. Feet are going to go just about hip width apart. I'm going to bring hands to shin. Inhale up to a flat back. Exhale, we're going to forward fold. Inhale, hands come out to the side. We're reaching towards the ceiling, coming up 1 vertebrae at a time. We're going to interlace the fingers, flip the palms towards the ceiling, and go into a lateral bend. So I'm going to have you inhale, get nice and tall. Exhale, lean over to the left. Good. On our next inhale, we're going to come through center. Nice long spine. Exhale, lean over to the right. Inhale, come back to center, get nice and tall. Exhale, you can release the hands, push the hips back. We're going to Swan Dive. Legs stay relatively straight, coming into a forward fold. Inhale, halfway up to a flat back. Exhale, hands come down to the mat. Bend the knees if you need to. Step the feet back into plank. You can come down into chaturanga, cobra, or crocodile if you'd like to drop the knees. Push back into downward dog. 2 breaths. Good. Bend the knees, get a little bouncy if you like. Step the feet up in between the hands. Inhale up halfway to a flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, hands come out to the side, coming up one segment at a time. Get nice and tall, interlace the fingers. This time we're going to do a full circle, so I want you to inhale, stand tall. Exhale, you're going to lean over to the right, and then you're going to go all the way around the clock for a full circle. You should get a nice stretch of the side body here. Good. Inhale, get nice and tall at center. Exhale, lean over to the right. Inhale, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, release the hands, Swan Dive. Push the hips back. Coming into a forward fold. Inhale, hands to shin, halfway up, flat back. Exhale, hands come down to the mat. Step back into plank. 2 breaths. We're going to lower into cobra or crocodile. Make sure the elbows stay close to the side. Squeeze your bum to protect your low back. Press back into down dog. 2 breaths. Bend through the knees. Step the feet up in between the hands. Inhale, halfway up to a flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, hands come out to the side. We're reaching towards the ceiling, coming up one segment at a time. Hands come down to heart center, and we're going to come into a static squat hold. Hips are going to travel back. Weight evenly throughout the feet. Knees stacked over the ankles. 3 breaths here. Good. On our next inhale, we're going to stand nice and tall. Hands are going to come overhead. Exhale, push the hips back. Hands come out to the side. Swan Dive. Forward fold. Inhale, hands to shin, halfway up to a flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Hands come down to the mat. Step the feet back into plank. Lower into cobra or crocodile, dropping the knees if needed. Press back into down dog. We have 2 more sun salutations to go here. 1 more breath in down dog. Bend through the knees. Step the feet up in between the hands. Inhale, hands to shin, up halfway to a flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rising up 1 segment at a time. Hands come out to the side. Reach to the ceiling. Hands come down to heart center. I'm going to step my right foot back into a long runner's lunge. You can bend that back knee slightly. We want to make sure both knees are stacked over the ankle. We don't want the knee caving in here. Nice long spine, reaching the crown of the head towards the ceiling. 2 more breaths. Good. On my next inhale, I'm going to step right foot forward to meet my left. Inhale, hands come up towards the ceiling. Exhale, Swan Dive, push the hips back, forward fold. Inhale, up halfway to a flat back. Exhale, hands come down to the mat, step the feet back into plank, lower into cobra or crocodile, elbows close to the rib cage. Press back into down dog. Inhale, bend the knees, step the feet up in between the hands. Excellent. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, hands to shins, halfway up to a flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, coming up 1 segment at a time. Hands come out to the side, reaching towards the ceiling. Hands come down to heart center. I'm going to step back with the left foot this time into a long lunge. Slight bend in the back knee. Knees stacked over the ankles, nice long spine. Shoulders away from the ears. My next inhale, I'm going to step the left foot forward to meet the right. Hands are going to come overhead, get nice and tall. Exhale, swan dive. Push the hips back, forward fold. Inhale, hands to shins, up halfway to a flat back. Exhale, hands come down to the mat. Step the feet back into plank. 2 breaths here. Elbows close to the rib cage. We're lowering into cobra or crocodile. Exhale, press back into down dog. Feel free to take a second in child's pose if you need to here. We're going to do 2 breaths. And we're going to move into our warrior series. I'm going to lift the left leg, step the left foot up in between the hands. I'm going to turn the right foot out on about a 30-degree angle. Heels are aligned. Walk the hands up the shins. Square the hips forward. Elbows in line with the ears. We're coming into warrior 1. Nice strong legs. Think about pressing your feet into the mat, creating a nice stable base. 3 more breaths here. On my next inhale, I'm going to heel toe that back foot until my toes are pointed perpendicular to the long edge of the mat. Arms are going to come down to shoulder height, nice and strong. Shoulders away from the ears. 5 breaths in warrior 2. Make sure those knees are not caving in. Good. On my next inhale, I'm going to reach forward through the front hand. Back hand is going to come to the back leg. We're going to side bend into a reverse warrior. So I'm flipping the palm to face my face. Eyes go up to the fingertips. One more breath. Excellent. We're going to windmill the hands down to the floor. So one hand on either side of the foot. Step the left foot back to meet the right. We're in a plank. 2 breaths. I'm going to lower into cobra or crocodile. And then press back into down dog. 2 breaths here. We're going to repeat our warrior series on the right side. So I'm going to lift the right leg, step the right foot up in between the hands, bring the left heel in line with the right, toes pointed out about 30 degrees. I'm going to walk my hands up the right shin, square the hips towards the front end of the mat, elbows in line with the ears for warrior 1. Again, nice strong legs, thinking about spreading the mat apart with my feet. All 4 corners of the feet in contact with the mat. Excellent. My next inhale, I'm going to heel toe that back foot so heels are in line and left foot is pointing perpendicular to the long edge of the mat. Hands come down to shoulder height. Shoulders are away from the ears. Nice strong arms like I'm reaching for opposite ends of the room. 5 breaths in warrior 2. Make sure those knees are not caving in. On my next inhale, I'm reaching forward through the front arm, flipping the palm to face the face, bringing the left hand to the back thigh. Eyes gaze at the right fingertips, reverse warrior. Now my next inhale, I'll windmill the hands down to the floor. One hand on each side of the front foot down to the mat. Step back into plank, 2 breaths. I'm gonna lower into cobra or crocodile. And this time I'm gonna drop the knees and press back into child's pose for 3 breaths. Excellent. We're going to shift the shoulders forward over the wrist, tuck the toes under, press back into down dog. 2 breaths here. I am going to lift the left leg, step the left foot in between the hands, and turn that right foot so that the toes are pointing towards the long edge of the mat. We're coming up through warrior 2. We're just going to spend 3 breaths here this time. And then we're going to transition into triangle. I'm going to straighten the front leg, shift my hips up and back, and windmill forward. We want both legs straight here. Hips and torso open to the long edge of the mat. Hand at the ankle. Eyes gaze towards the fingers of the top hand. Two more breaths. On my next inhale, I'm going to bend into that front knee. Bring the left elbow to the left inner thigh. Reach the right hand forward on a perpendicular so my bicep is in line with my ear. I'm pressing my left elbow into my left thigh and left thigh into my left elbow to create tension in side angle. Eyes still gazing upwards. One more breath. Good. On my next inhale, I'm going to rotate my torso down towards the floor. Hands come to the mat, one on either side of the left foot. Step that left foot back to meet the right. 3 breaths in plank. We're going to lower down into cobra or crocodile. Press back into downward dog for 2 breaths. We're going to repeat that series on the right. So lift the right leg, step the right foot up in between the hands. Left foot heel in line with the right, toes pointing towards the long edge of the mat. Walk the hands up the right shin, coming into warrior 2. 3 breaths here. On my next inhale, I'm going to straighten that right leg, shift the hips up and back, and tilt forward into triangle. Both legs are straight. I'm spreading the mat apart with my feet. Right hand to right instep, left fingers pointing up to the sky, and that's where the eyes are looking. Excellent. On my next inhale, I'm going to bend into that right knee. Right elbow comes to right thigh. Left arm comes forward on a diagonal. Bicep in line with the ear. Eyes still gazing upwards. Creating lots of tension by pressing the right elbow into right thigh and right thigh into right elbow. Excellent. On my next inhale, I'll turn the torso towards the mat. One hand comes down on each side of the right foot. Step the right foot back to meet the left. 2 breaths in plank. Good. We're going to lower down, chaturanga, up into cobra or crocodile. Press back into down dog, 2 breaths. Excellent. You can bend through the knees, and then we're slowly going to start to walk our feet up towards our hands. We're trying to keep the palms flat as long as we can, but you can come up onto your fingertips if you need to. Inhale, we're going to bring hands to shin, up halfway to a flat back. Exhale, forward fold. We're going to spend 3 breaths here. Good. Inhale, I'm going to roll up segment by segment. Hands come out to the side. Nice and slowly, I'm working my way all the way up to standing. Hands overhead. And then they're going to come down to heart center. We're going to move up to the upper third of our mat. Feet are going to go hip width apart. Hands staying at heart center. I'm going to push the hips back, and we're going to come into our chair pose. So weight in the heels. Chest up nice and high, knees stacked over the ankles. 3 breaths here. From here, we're going to move into a twisted chair. So on my next exhale, I'm going to rotate to my left. Bring my right elbow to my left thigh. Hands are still pressed together. I'm keeping the spine nice and long. 5 breaths here. Excellent. I'll unravel on my next inhale back to center. Exhale, I'm going to twist to the right, left elbow to right thigh. Hands pressed together to create tension. Right elbow pressing into left. Left elbow pressing into right thigh, and thigh pressing into elbow. Spine nice and long. 1 more breath. We're going to inhale back to center. From here, you can either stay in a chair pose or you can come up onto the toes into balancing chair for 3 breaths. And our next inhale, we'll drop the heels, come all the way up to standing, reach for the sky. Hands come down to heart center on the exhale. We are going to shake our legs out. We're going to go into a balancing tree pose next. So we are going to shift all of our weight into our left foot, soft bend in the knee so it's not locked, coming up onto the right toes. From here, I'm going to rotate my knee out to the side from the hip. You can bring the sole of your foot either to shin or to thigh, but not over the knee. Hands are going to come to heart center. When you've found your balance here, you can extend the arms overhead into a full tree pose. It helps to find something to focus on to keep you balanced. 5 breaths. One more. The next exhale, hands will come down to heart center. Knee rotates forward. Right foot comes down to the ground. Shake the legs out. And then we'll repeat on the other side. So we're going to shift all of our weight into our right foot. Come up onto the left toe. Really activate through those right lateral rotators and glutes, meaning squeeze your butt. You're going to bring the sole of the left foot to the right calf or right thigh, but not over the knee. Hands come to heart center. When you found your balance, you can extend arms overhead into a full tree. 5 breaths here. Excellent. On your next exhale, hands can come down to heart center. Rotate the left knee forward. Bring the left foot down to the ground. Shake the legs out. We're going to step back into a short warrior one. Just make sure if you want to use a block, we have a balancing pose coming up. So if you want a block or a water bottle for when you're standing on one leg, you have it near the top edge of the mat. I'm going to step back about halfway of the distance as I would usually step back from my warrior one. Turn the toes out about 30 degrees, heels are in line, hands come up overhead, 5 breaths here. Excellent. On my next exhale, I'm going to bring the hands down to heart center. I'm going to rotate my back foot so the toes are pointing forward, and I'm going to scissor my thighs together. So activate my glutes, square the hips forward. I'm going to straighten the front leg and push my hips back into a pyramid. So nice long spine, neck is nice and long and neutral. You're probably feeling a lot of stretch through that front hamstring or the back of the front leg. That's fine. If you want a little bit more, you can actually bring the hands down to the shin as long as you can keep your back straight. We don't want to see you hunched over. 5 breaths. From here, we're going to shift into a balancing pose. So if you wanted to lean on a block or a water bottle, you're going to bring it just in front of that front foot. I'm going to sort of bend into that front knee just so that it's soft and shift all of my weight there. As I do, that right leg or back leg is going to fly off the ground. If you want to come into a balancing half moon, you can rotate your torso so it's open towards the long edge of the mat. And reach towards the ceiling. Pull those back toes towards your shin. Really activate the glutes. Abs are nice and tight. 3 breaths. On my next inhale, I'm going to rotate my chest back towards the mat. Slowly lower that back leg. Come back up to standing, and I'll step that back foot forward to meet the right. And we'll shake our legs out again. That one is no joke. Okay, so we're going to step back with the opposite foot into our short warrior one. So back toes are pointed out about 30 degrees, heels in line, hips squared forward, elbows in line with the ears. 5 breaths. On my next exhale, hands come together and down to heart center. I'm going to pivot the back toes so they're facing forward. Straighten the legs, scissor the thighs together, and then hinge at the hips into pyramid. So remember, nice long spine. We want to see a nice neutral back here. We don't want to be rounded. We do want a bit of a deeper stretch. You can bring the hands down to the shin. One more breath here. And then we're going to again move into that balancing pose. You're going to have a soft bend in that front knee. Slowly take the weight off the back foot. Move that block or water bottle or whatever balance prop you like over to the front of the front foot. And if you want, you can go into a balancing half moon Opening torso and chest towards the long edge of the mat. 3 breaths. Good. On your next exhale, rotate that torso back towards the floor. Drop the back leg. Step the feet together. You can move your blocker, water bottle, or balance prop out of the way. One more time, we're going to inhale, reach towards the ceiling. Exhale, push the hips back, forward fold. 2 breaths here. Bend your knees, bring the hands down to the mat. Step back into plank. We're going to lower into cobra or crocodile. And then we're going to drop the knees and press back into child's pose. Two more breaths here. On our next inhale, we're going to shift the shoulders forward into tabletop. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders. We're going to move into a kneeling side plank. So I'm going to bring that left elbow down to the mat. I'm going to kickstand that right foot out and then rotate that left knee. I'm going to lift my right leg high into the sky in line with my torso, toes pulled towards the shin. Right hand comes up to the ceiling. 5 breaths here. Make sure you're really pulling through those obliques and pressing away from the mat with that bottom elbow. On my next inhale, I'm going to bring the right elbow down to the mat, roll through center. Right knee down on the mat in line with the hips and the elbow. Left knee flies high in line with the torso. Left hand up to the sky. 5 breaths. One more breath. Excellent. We'll rotate the chest towards the mat. Drop both elbows, come onto the knees, tuck the toes under, and I'm going to press up to my hands and walk my way back into a kneeling position. We're going to get nice and tall here. We want to make sure the hips are fully extended, so you're squeezing your bum. We're going to bring the hands to the low back to the waistband. We're going to come into a kneeling camel. So I want you to think about pulling your elbows together behind you and lifting your chest towards the ceiling. I don't want you to think about arching your back. Okay, so we're going to inhale, roll the shoulders back down, pull the elbows together, look towards the sky. 5 breaths here. Excellent. On my next exhale, I'm going to lower the hips down to the heels, shift over to the side, so I'm coming into a seated position. We're going to move into a boat pose. So we're going to get up nice and high on our sits bones or our bum bones, or you can think about when a real skinny kid sits on your lap, you say you have sharp bum bones. Those are what you want to be sitting on right now. Nice and tall, and I'm going to walk the heels in towards me. For this one, I am going to think about pulling belly button to spine, getting nice and long through the spine, and then we're going to float the legs off the floor. Hands can come out in front of you at shoulder height again, shoulders away from the ears. 5 breaths. If you want to make this a bit more challenging, you can always straighten the legs. One more breath. Excellent. Bend the knees, drop the toes down to the floor and the heels. shift forward. Just make sure that you have enough space behind you on your mat that you're not going to bang your head off of anything. And then you can slowly lower down onto the elbows and then down onto your back. We're going to move into a figure 4 stretch. I'm going to cross my right ankle across the left thigh. It's not sitting on my knee. I'm pulling my right toes towards my shin. Once I'm in this position, I'm going to lift my left foot off the ground and bring my left thigh in towards my chest. Hands can come in behind the left thigh to give a little bit of pull there. 5 breaths here. You should feel a nice stretch through the right glute and outside of the right hip. Good. On your next inhale, you can release the hands, lower the left foot down to the mat, rotate the right knee in, and then bring it down to meet the left foot on the mat. Shake the legs out. We're going to repeat that on the other side. Cross the left ankle across the right thigh. Pull left toes towards the shins. Draw the right thigh in towards the chest. Feed the hands through, and you can just wrap your fingers around the back of the right thigh. 5 breaths. One more. Good. We'll slowly release the hand. Lower the right foot down towards the mat. Rotate the left thigh in. You can shake the legs out here. We're going to move into a supine twist. So for this one, you may want a prop, such as a sweater or a pillow or a block in between your knees if you find it a lot of twist on the low back. So for this setup, I'm going to draw the knees into the chest. I'm going to take the hands out, palms up to the sky into a T position. As I inhale, I'm going to drop both legs to one side. So if you can keep your knees stacked right on top of each other and on the ground and the opposite shoulder on the floor, you don't need a prop. If you're finding that this is hard on the low back or that top knee wants to come off, just pop a prop in there. Any height is fine. You just want to be comfortable so that top leg can rest heavy on the bottom one. 5 breaths here. Excellent. On my next inhale, I'm going to squeeze the knees together. If you have a prop in there, that's fine. You can leave them there. And then we're going to rotate the whole body as one unit towards center. You can adjust if you need to. You can remove the prop if you want to for the rollover. We're going to repeat the same drill on the left side. So I'm going to inhale and then drop the knees to the left. Again, pop a prop in there if you need to. You want both knees to be able to stack nice and heavy on top of each other and both shoulders flat on the floor. One more time on the inhale, I'm going to come back to center, rolling that whole body as one unit. If you have a prop between the knees, you can remove it. Bring the feet down to the mat, and we're going to be transitioning into Shavasana. So you want to find a nice, comfortable spot in the middle of your mat. Palms are going to go just outside of mat width, facing up towards the ceiling. Heels can do the same. And we're going to let our body be nice and heavy and just sink into the mat here. You can let the eyes close. And bring your focus back to that belly breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Shoulders are down away from the ears. You could slowly start to wiggle the fingers and toes. Circle the ankles and wrists. Our next inhale, we're going to do one more nice long stretch. Feet together, hands interlace overhead, nice and long. Exhale, we're going to draw the knees into the chest, and then we're going to roll over to one side into fetal position. And we'll spend 2 breaths here. You can bring that top palm down to the floor to help you press up to ceiling. We're going to get nice and high on the sits bones and cross the legs nice and long through the spine. Reach the crown of the head towards the ceiling. Hands come to center. Thanks so much for practicing with me today. Namaste.